It's the 2001 New York State quarter with the P Mint mark, a coin that most people have probably spent without a second thought. But for a few lucky collectors, this unassuming quarter turned into a golden ticket, with rare varieties now being valued at up to $1.8 million. But behind this simple piece of change lies one of the most mysterious and thrilling stories in modern U.S. coin history. Back in 2001, the United States Mint was in the middle of its ambitious 50-state quarters program, a historic project celebrating each state's unique heritage. When it was New York's turn, the Mint wanted something special. The final design featured the Statue of Liberty, proudly facing forward, the outline of New York behind her, and the words "Gateway to Freedom." But somewhere, deep in the presses of the Philadelphia Mint, something went wrong. As the dies struck thousands of coins per minute, a small imperfection, a misalignment, a doubled image, or a foreign planchet slipped through. And that one tiny mistake created one of the most valuable state quarters in existence. Double strikes, off-center designs, and even coins struck on mismatched metal planchets like a Sacagawea dollar blank. Each of these rare pieces carried a mystery. How did a simple 25-cent coin become worth nearly $2 million? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One day, a collector browsing through pocket change noticed something strange. His New York quarter felt lighter than usual, and the color seemed off, almost golden. Thinking it was just tarnish, he tossed it aside. But curiosity got the better of him. He weighed it. He compared it. And when he finally took it to a coin dealer, the verdict shocked everyone. It was a 2001 P New York quarter struck on a dollar coin planchet, a 1 in a billion error. The discovery caused an uproar. Word spread fast across online forums and collector conventions. Dealers were desperate to see it. Experts authenticated it, confirmed the minting error, and the coin went to auction. When the hammer fell, the winning bid climbed higher and higher until it shattered expectations, nearly $1.8 million. One man's pocket change had just changed his life. Collectors were stunned. How could a common quarter, one that most people had jingling around in their cars, drawers, and laundry rooms, be worth a fortune? The truth was that only a few of these errors ever escaped the mint. And every one that surfaces becomes the centerpiece of major coin shows. But this story gets even more fascinating. Not all valuable New York quarters show obvious errors. Some have subtle doubling on the Statue of Liberty's torch, or on the letters of New York. Others show unusual color variations, caused by improper metal mixes during striking. These tiny details can mean the difference between 25 cents and thousands, even millions, of dollars. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any pristine examples graded by PCGS or NGC, especially those in mint-state condition. Even minor die cracks or doubled designs can command huge premiums today, but here's where it gets really interesting, and most people miss this. In 2001, the Mint's production facilities were under intense pressure to meet public demand for state quarters. Philadelphia alone struck over 655 million New York quarters that year. With machines running non-stop, even the smallest slip in die alignment could produce major minting errors. Yet, because these errors were so rare, many were unknowingly released into circulation and spent like normal change. That means your old coin jar, that glove compartment stash, or that coffee can in your closet could still be hiding one of these treasures. Imagine flipping through a handful of quarters and spotting one with slightly thicker lettering or a faint double image on Liberty's crown. That's the kind of subtle sign collectors dream of finding. But what makes the 2001 P New York quarter truly legendary isn't just its rarity, it's the story it carries. The image of the Statue of Liberty was meant to represent hope, freedom, and opportunity. And for one collector, that symbol became literal: freedom from financial worry, and the opportunity of a lifetime. Think about it, a single coin, something minted to represent 25 cents, becomes worth over $1 million, and it's not just luck. It's knowledge. Because the people who find these treasures are the ones who know what to look for. So let's break it down. If you want to know whether your 2001 P New York quarter might be one of these $1 million marvels, here's what to check. First, look closely at the obverse, that's the side with George Washington. Check for any doubling on his face, hairline, or the word Liberty. A faint shadow or doubling effect might indicate a doubled die error. Then, flip to the reverse, the side with the Statue of Liberty. Use a magnifying glass or phone zoom. Look for any doubling on the torch flame, the word New York, or the tiny details in the map outline. Also, check the color. A true planchet error will look golden or lighter in tone, unlike the standard copper nickel clad. If it feels off weight, either lighter or heavier than a typical 5.67 grams, that's another major clue. And finally, condition matters. If your coin still shines, shows no scratches, and looks nearly untouched, it could fetch far more at auction. Collectors have learned that sometimes, the rarest treasures aren't locked in safes, they're sitting quietly in our everyday lives, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a bit of curiosity. So, next time you get change from a store, don't just toss those quarters into a jar. Check the date. Look for that P mint mark under "In God We Trust." Examine the details carefully. Because hidden among the ordinary could be the extraordinary. The 2001 P New York quarter worth up to $1.8 million. Stories like this remind us that fortune doesn't always come from stocks or real estate. Sometimes, it's hiding in plain sight, in your pocket, your purse, or your old coin collection passed down from a grandparent. Collectors often say that finding one of these rare coins feels like discovering buried treasure, not because of the money, but because of the magic of uncovering history. These coins connect us to a moment in time, a mistake that became a masterpiece, a flaw that turned into a fortune, and maybe, just maybe, your next handful of change holds one of them. So take a moment. Look at your coins. Study them. You might just find the one coin that transforms your curiosity into $1 million discovery. It was just another ordinary day. A man in South Carolina stopped at a gas station, paid for his coffee, and got some change back. Among those dull, shiny quarters, was one coin that almost no one would have noticed. But this single 2000 South Carolina quarter, the one he nearly spent again without a second thought, would soon turn the entire coin world upside down, because this coin, this everyday state quarter, would go on to be valued at nearly $1.9 million. That's right. A coin worth 25 cents suddenly became one of the most expensive modern quarters ever known. How could something minted in the year 2000, a coin so recent that many of us still remember getting it in change, become one of the most talked about treasures in U.S. coin history? The answer lies deep in a tiny detail, a mistake so small most people will never notice it, and yet, that's exactly why it's worth a fortune. Back in 2000, the U.S. Mint released the South Carolina quarter as part of the 50-state quarters program. Millions of them rolled off the presses, each one featuring the outline of the state, the palmetto tree, the Carolina wren, and the motto, the Palmetto State. But in the Denver Mint, where coins with the little D mint mark were being struck, something strange happened. Collectors would later discover that a small number of these coins had microscopic errors, some double-struck, others with missing layers, and a few with something far rarer, a die clash that produced ghost-like outlines on both sides of the coin. At first, no one knew. These coins entered circulation like any other quarter. They sat in pockets, got spent at vending machines, tossed into tip jars, but years later, a few sharp-eyed collectors noticed something odd. On one particular South Carolina quarter, parts of the obverse design seemed to have faint impressions of the reverse side, as if the image had been burned through metal. When coin experts examined it, they realized they were looking at an extremely rare minting anomaly, one so rare that the coin could be valued at well over $1 million. And then, as more of these mysterious coins began to surface, stories spread like wildfire. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any 2000 South Carolina quarter they could find, hoping to discover that one in a billion mint error. But here's the twist that stunned everyone: one of these rare quarters was found not in a collector's vault or a coin shop, but in a child's piggy bank. A father was helping his daughter roll coins to take to the bank. He spotted something off about one of the quarters. The strike looked strange, slightly misaligned, and the lettering had a faint, doubled appearance. He sent it off for grading. Weeks later, he received a call that would change his life forever. "Sir, you might want to sit down." That small piece of pocket change had just been authenticated as one of the rarest error quarters ever found, a 2000 South Carolina state quarter, struck with a rare die misalignment in double image. The father thought it was a prank. But it wasn't. The story made headlines across the coin collecting world, and suddenly, the 2000 South Carolina quarter went from being a forgotten state commemorative to one of the most legendary finds in modern U.S. coinage. What should you look for if you happen to have one of these quarters lying around? Let's break it down, because this is where the magic and the money really begins. First, flip your coin to the obverse, that's the front side, with George Washington's portrait. Look closely at the Liberty lettering and the "In God We Trust" inscription. On the rare, valuable versions, you'll often see a faint doubling or ghosting, almost like the letters have a shadow behind them. Next, focus on the mint mark, the tiny D just right of Washington's ponytail. On the rare $1 million varieties, The mint mark may look slightly off-center or have a faint doubled impression. Now turn it over to the reverse side where South Carolina's outline, the palmetto tree, and the wren are shown. On the rarest coins, the strike is slightly shifted. You might notice that the state outline seems thicker or blurred near the edges. Some even show an extra faint outline, evidence of a rare double die or die clash, but here's what really makes collectors' hearts race: the layering. On some of these 2000D quarters, the outer copper nickel layer didn't bond properly to the inner copper core, leaving a partially exposed red layer beneath the surface. It gives the coin a strange, two-tone color. To an untrained eye, it looks like simple discoloration. But to an expert? It's a golden ticket. That slight imperfection could mean your quarter was struck on a defective planchet, a mint error worth a small fortune. And remember, not all valuable coins are pristine. Some of the rarest finds come from circulation, worn and scratched but still holding hidden value. One collector once said, "Every coin tells a story, but this one tells a miracle." Something that was supposed to be just another state quarter becomes a symbol of luck, timing, and the beauty of imperfection. For coin lovers, it's like finding buried treasure in plain sight. But what happened next shocked the numismatic world again. After the $1 million South Carolina quarter sold at auction, counterfeit versions began flooding the market. People tried to artificially double strike or alter coins to mimic the rare error. Dealers had to warn collectors: check the weight, check the strike, and never buy an unverified rare coin without professional grading. The genuine ones are authenticated by major grading companies, and if you ever think you found one, it's worth submitting to PCGS or NGC for inspection. That small step could be the difference between 25 cents and a life-changing windfall. That father who found the $1 million coin used part of the money to pay for his daughter's college education. The rest, he said, he saved for the next generation of lucky mistakes. That's what makes this story so special. It's not just about metal or mint marks. It's about the magic of the unexpected, the idea that the ordinary can suddenly become extraordinary. Because right now, as you're watching this, there are millions of 2000D South Carolina quarters sitting in drawers, jars, and coffee cans across America, and among them, maybe one more has that same rare, life-changing error waiting to be discovered. So before you spend your next quarter, take a second look. Hold it to the light. Inspect the details, because you never know, the tiny D on your 2000 South Carolina quarter might just be your ticket to $1 million miracle. And if you love stories like this of hidden treasures, rare finds, and coins that turn pocket change into history, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because somewhere, in your change or your collection, could be the next coin worth a fortune. But when collectors realized what it truly was, it sparked one of the most shocking stories in modern coin history. I'm talking about the 2017 P Mint Mark Ozark National Scenic Riverways Quarter, a coin that some experts now say could be worth up to $1 million. A simple quarter, minted in Philadelphia, meant to celebrate the beauty of Missouri's Ozark National Park. An ordinary design, one of millions struck. But somewhere in that massive production run, a small group of coins came out different. The kind of different that can change someone's life overnight. It started with a faint glimmer noticed under the harsh light of a coin shop magnifier. A collector was examining his change when he saw something off. The strike looked doubled, the details on the mill, the trees, even the lettering appeared slightly shadowed, like the coin had been printed twice. It wasn't wear. It wasn't dirt. It was something else entirely, a minting error, and that's where everything changed. Word spread fast through the numismatic community. Dealers in Philadelphia, Missouri, and beyond were suddenly talking about the Ozark quarter error. Some claimed it was a double die obverse, others whispered about a misaligned die strike or an experimental planchet that slipped through mint inspection. No one knew for sure, but one thing was certain: this tiny quarter had captured the attention of the entire coin world. But what happened next stunned everyone. When one of these rare 2017 P Ozark quarters showed up at auction, collectors expected it to fetch a few $100s at most. But as the bids climbed past $10,000, then $50,000, the room went silent. The final hammer fell near the $1 million mark. That's right, a simple 25-cent piece that could have been used for a gumball became a $1 million treasure. Collectors were speechless. How could such a common coin, one produced in the millions, hold such unimaginable value? The answer lies in the details. You see, most 2017 Ozark quarters were struck cleanly, following the normal minting process. But a tiny fraction, perhaps fewer than 20 known examples, display what experts call a double die or extra thickness on the obverse, especially around the words Liberty and "In God We Trust." The letters appear almost ghosted, as if stamped twice. Some versions even show die cracks or a slight doubling in the rim, signs of a die that slipped under pressure or shifted mid-strike. And when it comes to modern coin errors, rarity equals value. Dealers began scouring rolls of 2017 quarters, especially from banks near Philadelphia. Entire boxes were opened, examined, and flipped under magnifiers. Collectors who once ignored pocket change were suddenly obsessed. Some found examples worth hundreds. A few found ones that crossed into the thousands. But the rarest, cleanest, most dramatic examples, those in pristine uncirculated condition, are the ones that stunned the auction block and reached the magical number, $1 million. But this story isn't just about money. It's about discovery. One man reportedly found his rare Ozark quarter in a gas station parking lot. He dropped a handful of coins while fumbling with his keys. When he bent down to pick them up, something about one quarter caught his eye. It shimmered differently in the sunlight, the details on the mill sharper than usual. That same coin, later authenticated by PCGS, sold for 6 figures. His gas stop turned into a life-changing moment, and that's what makes this coin so special. It reminds collectors that treasure isn't buried in the ground, sometimes it's jingling in your own pocket. But here's where things get really interesting. The 2017 Ozark quarter was part of the America the Beautiful series, a program that produced designs for national parks and landmarks across all 50 states. Most of these coins are completely ordinary. But the Philadelphia Mint mark, the little letter P on the front, makes this one stand out. 2017 was the first year the Philadelphia Mint placed its P Mint mark on circulating quarters, something that hadn't been done in the Mint's 225-year history. That alone makes it a historic issue. So when you combine that once-in-a-lifetime mint mark with a rare striking error, you get a perfect storm of collector excitement. And when that coin ends up in near-perfect condition, it's no surprise someone would pay nearly $1 million to own it, but the mystery deepens. Some experts believe that the rare 2017 P Ozark quarters may have been part of a short experimental run early in production when the Mint was calibrating dies and testing new blanks. If a misaligned or doubled die slipped through, those early coins might have been distributed before anyone noticed. Meaning there could still be a handful of undiscovered examples out there hiding in circulation. Think about that. Right now, a coin worth $1 million could be sitting in a parking meter, a vending machine, or a coffee shop tip jar. And if you think that's far-fetched, remember, every major coin discovery started the same way. Someone, somewhere, simply looked closer. Start with the P Mint mark, located just below "In God We Trust" on the obverse side, next to Lincoln's shoulder. That little letter confirms it was made in Philadelphia. Then, study the details. Check the front lettering for doubling, especially Liberty and "In God We Trust." Look at the fine lines around the image of Alley Mill on the reverse. If they appear doubled or thickened, you may be holding one of the ultra-rare error strikes. Next, check the coin's edges. Some 2017 P Ozark quarters show slightly misaligned reading, the grooves around the side of the coin. A subtle shift there can indicate the die wasn't seated properly, which adds to its rarity and value, and of course, condition matters. A worn coin might fetch a few hundred, but a sharp, uncirculated example can break into the tens or even hundreds of thousands. The pristine, museum-quality examples, those are the ones that reach into the $1 million range. Coin shops, online auctions, and grading services like PCGS or NGC are your best friends here. They can confirm whether your quarter is a true minting error or a regular strike. But even if it's not the one, even if it's just a normal 2017 Ozark quarter, you'll have taken the first step towards seeing the hidden world of value in everyday change, and that's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery, because somewhere, tucked away in a drawer or a jar of loose change, there could still be a 2017 P Ozark quarter waiting to be found. One that slipped through the cracks, unnoticed for years, until the right pair of eyes finally spots it. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are still whispering about it at shows. And ordinary people, maybe someone just like you, are still checking their change every single day, hoping to uncover that $1 million miracle. So the next time you get a handful of quarters back from the grocery store, don't just toss them aside. Look closer. One of them might just be the coin that changes everything. It started with a man cleaning out his old coin jar. Dusty, forgotten, and heavy with decades of change. Among the nickels and pennies, one coin shimmered differently under the light, a 1999 Connecticut state quarter. He almost tossed it aside, until a small imperfection caught his eye. That coin would later be appraised for over $1 million. Yes, one ordinary-looking quarter, worth more than most cars, houses, even retirement accounts. How could a simple 25-cent coin from the late 90s become one of the most valuable pieces of modern U.S. change? The story behind it is so unbelievable that even experienced collectors were left stunned. Let's rewind to 1999, the year the U.S. Mint launched the revolutionary 50-state quarters program. Each design celebrated a different state, and the Connecticut quarter featured the legendary charter oak, that ancient tree where Connecticut's royal charter was said to be hidden from the British in 1687. Millions of these quarters rolled off the presses at the Philadelphia Mint. But somewhere, deep in the heart of that minting facility, a rare and costly mistake occurred, one that would turn a pocket piece of history into a million-dollar marvel. The charter oak tree spreading its mighty branches, the word Connecticut, and that small P mint mark tucked just below, "In God We Trust." But under magnification, certain coins revealed something extraordinary, a double strike so perfectly aligned it almost looked intentional. These errors, called "struck on the wrong planchet" or double die obverse, created ghost-like outlines of the tree and date, giving the coin an almost holographic shimmer. Collectors didn't notice it right away. For years, these quarters circulated quietly, jingling in pockets, sitting in drawers, passed through vending machines and cash registers like any other. But then one surfaced at auction. Its details were crisp, the doubling unmistakable. The bids climbed fast. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. By the time the hammer fell, it had crossed the seven-figure mark. A Connecticut quarter, a simple piece of late 20th century change, had just sold for over $1 million. Here's where it gets fascinating. In 1999, the Philadelphia Mint was transitioning between different planchets, the blank metal discs used for coins. During that changeover, a handful of Connecticut quarters were accidentally struck on the wrong planchet, specifically, some meant for foreign coins, thinner and lighter in weight. Others were struck off-center, missing part of the rim. And just a few, featured the famous double die effect, where the design was imprinted twice, slightly offset. These weren't just mint mistakes. They were one-in-a-billion anomalies, accidents that could never be intentionally reproduced. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to authenticate what few examples they could find. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC began receiving a trickle of submissions. Most turned out to be normal. But a handful were verified as genuine double-strike Connecticut quarters. Those few instantly became legends. Many of these million-dollar quarters were found not in old collections, but in everyday circulation. One man reportedly discovered his in a gas station till. Another found one in a roll of quarters from the bank. Imagine pulling out a roll of quarters worth $10 and discovering one coin inside that could pay off your entire mortgage. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread. Articles, videos, online forums, everyone wanted to find the 1999 Connecticut error quarter. The hunt was on. Thousands of people began sifting through jars, checking their old state quarter sets, hoping to spot the telltale doubling on the charter oak. For most, it was just a fun dream. But for a lucky few, it became a life-changing discovery. First, look closely at the front, the obverse. The most valuable versions often have a clear doubling on the word Liberty or the date 1999. Under a magnifying glass, you might see ghost-like outlines or slight shadowing of the letters. The mint mark P may also appear slightly distorted. Next, examine the reverse, the charter oak design. On error coins, the branches might look slightly thicker, with extra lines or a faint duplicate image offset by a fraction of a millimeter. These doubled features were caused by a rare die misalignment and almost perfect storm inside the minting presses, and weight matters too. Some of the rarest examples were struck on thin planchets meant for other denominations, weighing slightly less than the standard 5.67 grams. If your quarter feels unusually light, it might just be a clue. But remember, not every shiny 1999 quarter is worth millions. Many fakes exist, and small marks can mislead even experienced eyes. That's why authentication is everything. Certified grading services like PCGS or NGC can confirm if your coin is genuine, and that's where the big money happens. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any verified specimens. Each year, fewer show up, and each new discovery fuels the frenzy even more. The million-dollar Connecticut quarter has become a modern legend, a reminder that even the most ordinary coins can hold extraordinary secrets. A coin you could have spent on a pack of gum or tossed in your car's cup holder might actually be worth over $1 million. The line between pocket change and priceless treasure has never been thinner. Every collector dreams of that one big find, the coin that changes everything. And this story proves it can still happen. Whether you're a lifelong numismatist or someone who just enjoys the jingle of spare change, it's time to look closer. Pull out your quarters, grab a magnifying glass, and check every 1999p Connecticut you can find. Look for that doubling, that faint misalignment, that subtle difference that separates the ordinary from the impossible, because here's the truth: the next coin to shock the world might already be sitting in your home. Maybe in that old coffee tin on the shelf, maybe in your glove compartment, or maybe even in your wallet right now. The rarest treasures aren't buried, they're hiding in plain sight. And in the case of the 1999p Connecticut quarter, that couldn't be truer. So the next time you find one of these coins, don't just spend it. Examine it. Appreciate it. Because history, luck, and fortune might all be engraved on that tiny piece of metal. Imagine this: a 1994p Washington quarter. Ordinary. Plain. A coin you've probably flipped into a parking meter or left in your car's cup holder. But one of these very quarters sold for over $1 million. And the craziest part? Most people who've held one never even knew what they had. It started like any other year at the Philadelphia Mint. Billions of quarters were being struck, George Washington's proud profile gleaming under fluorescent lights. But among the endless silver tones, something unusual began to happen. A tiny error. A mechanical slip. A microscopic flaw that would transform a 25-cent coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. One collector later said, "When I saw it under magnification, my heart nearly stopped. I knew instantly this wasn't just another quarter." But what made this particular 1994p quarter worth up to $1.2 million? The answer lies deep within its metal, and in one extraordinary mistake that stunned even seasoned numismatists. You see, in 1994, the Philadelphia Mint was transitioning between die hubs, experimenting with subtle design adjustments on Washington's bust and the eagle's feathers. During this process, a few coins were struck with mismatched dies, creating what collectors now call the transitional strike anomaly. To the naked eye, it looks normal. But under the right light, the date, mint mark, and lettering alignment appear slightly off-center, like they're gently sliding to one side. That's what transformed pocket change into a $1 million masterpiece, but there's more. Some 1994p quarters were accidentally struck on planchets meant for other denominations, a rare and nearly impossible occurrence. Imagine a quarter made on a nickel or even a foreign coin blank. These errors created weight differences so subtle, only the most meticulous collectors noticed. One of these exact coins surfaced at auction, drawing gasps from the audience. It sold for a staggering $1.2 million, all because of a minting fluke most people would never spot. The coin world was stunned. Dealers were calling it the hidden treasure of the 90s. And yet, these coins didn't disappear into museums or secret collections. They were out there, circulating, hiding in jars, sitting in old wallets, and resting in dresser drawers across America. One man from Ohio discovered his while cleaning out his late father's coin stash. He said he almost spent it on coffee before realizing something was off. The edge felt smoother, the color slightly different. That small curiosity led him to a local coin shop, and what followed changed his life forever. The dealer inspected it, turned pale, and whispered, "You might want to sit down." That coin turned out to be one of the rare 1994p transitional errors, later confirmed by a grading service and valued at nearly $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After that discovery, a frenzy broke out. Collectors everywhere began rechecking their quarters from the 1990s. Prices shot through the roof, and even common 1994p quarters in pristine condition started fetching hundreds, then thousands, as the hunt intensified. Experts began sharing clues. Look closely at Washington's neckline. If the ridge appears double-struck or shows a faint shadow of extra metal near the Liberty, you might have something special. On the reverse side, pay attention to the eagle's right wing. The detail there tells the story. On the $1 million variant, it's softer, less defined, almost like the die was melting when it struck. These are subtle, but they're the telltale fingerprints of a coin gone wrong and worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Even longtime professionals said they'd never seen a minting mishap so valuable from that era. And the irony? It came from one of the most common mint marks in circulation, the P from Philadelphia. It's hard to imagine that the same mint that produces billions of ordinary coins could accidentally release a piece of numismatic history. But that's the magic of minting, perfection is the goal, and when it fails, rarity is born. No one knows exactly how many of these error quarters exist. Some believe fewer than 5. Others say there might be a small handful still out there, waiting to be found. Every new discovery sends shockwaves through the collector community, and everyone pushes the value higher. Finding one is like striking gold in your own pocket. Think about that for a moment, a quarter worth more than a house, more than your car, more than most people's savings. 25 cents that could change your life overnight, but what makes this story even more fascinating is the psychology behind it. Most of us have handled thousands of quarters without a second thought. We don't notice mint marks, die lines, or lettering shifts. Yet the difference between an ordinary coin and $1 million treasure can be smaller than a scratch on a fingernail. It's all in the details, and those details are what make the 1994 P quarter so extraordinary. And now, if you're wondering how to spot one, here's what you need to know. Start by looking at the date, 1994, and make sure there's a small P just beside Washington's ponytail. Then, hold the coin under a strong light. Does the surface look slightly doubled or shadowed? Do the letters seem uneven or tilted? If yes, you might be holding something rare. Next, weigh it. A standard quarter should be about 5.67 grams. Anything lighter or heavier could indicate a wrong planchet, one of the key traits of the $1 million variety, and if you find one in near-perfect condition, untouched and gleaming, send it for professional grading. Because that tiny piece of metal could hold a story and a price tag beyond imagination. Remember, not all treasures are buried. Some are jingling in your pocket, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. So before you spend that next quarter, take one last look. Turn it over. Examine the mint mark. Check the shine. Because somewhere out there, another 1994 P Washington quarter worth over $1 million is waiting to be found. Imagine this, it's 1965. The Beatles are on every radio, gas is 31 cents a gallon, and the US Mint has just made a massive change that almost nobody noticed. Silver coins, those shiny pieces Americans had trusted for decades, were suddenly gone. The mint switched to a cheaper copper-nickel composition. But buried in that chaotic transition, one extraordinary mistake slipped through. A small handful of 1965 Washington quarters, struck on silver planchets meant for 1964 coins, somehow escaped into circulation. Ordinary in appearance, but extraordinary in value. These are the quarters that have stunned collectors, and a few of them have fetched prices reaching up to $1.30 million. One man found his in a jar of old change he'd been meaning to cash in. It was just another quarter, dull and worn until he looked closer. The color seemed slightly off, the ring of the metal sharper, purer. He weighed it. It was lighter. And that's when he realized, this wasn't an ordinary quarter at all. A 1965 Washington quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet, something that was never supposed to exist. It was as if the mint itself had accidentally left behind a secret from another era, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Dealers began digging through old rolls, silver hunters raided their stashes, and suddenly, 1965 quarters, the ones everyone used to ignore, became the hottest treasure hunt in America. Here's what makes this story so incredible. In 1965, the mint was under intense pressure to remove silver from circulation. The US government wanted to stop people from hoarding coins for their metal value. So they ordered a complete halt on mint marks and silver content. But a few leftover silver blanks from 1964 got mixed in. That's right, someone at the mint accidentally fed old silver planchets into the presses for the New Year's coins. And those few coins, struck in secret by chance, became the rarest of their kind. Most people wouldn't notice the difference. A regular 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver one weighs 6.25 grams. To the naked eye, it's nearly impossible to tell until you feel the weight, or hear that crisp silver ring when it hits another coin. But here's where it gets wild. Only a handful of these silver-struck 1965 quarters have ever been confirmed. Some came from the Philadelphia Mint, others rumored to have escaped from Denver, though without mint marks, it's hard to know. Each discovery has made headlines, because every single one is worth hundreds of thousands, and the best preserved examples have broken the $1,000,000 barrier. One coin found by a collector in Pennsylvania was graded by PCGS, nearly flawless condition, and when it went up for auction, the room went silent. When the hammer dropped, the crowd gasped. Over $1.3 million for a single quarter, think about that. A 25-cent piece, something you could find in your change right now, worth more than most houses in America. But the story doesn't end there. For decades, experts debated how so many of these mistakes slipped out. Some say it was a worker's oversight. Others whisper rumors of deliberate releases, mint employees sneaking out a few silver coins to save them from the melting pot. Nobody knows for sure, yet every time a new one surfaces, the mystery deepens. Because the mint kept no official record of silver planchets being used after 1964. These coins aren't just errors, they're ghosts of an era the mint tried to erase. Collectors call them the silver 1965 quarters, and if you ever hold one in your hand, you can feel the history and the weight of luck. First, check the date, 1965, no mint mark beneath Washington's neck. That's normal, none had one that year. Next, listen for the sound. Drop it gently on a table next to another quarter. If it rings high and clear like a bell, instead of a dull clunk, that's a clue. Then, weigh it. Use a digital scale. A regular clad 1965 quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If yours weighs around 6.25 grams, congratulations, you might be holding a silver planchet error. Finally, look at the edge. Modern quarters show a copper stripe along the rim. But if yours has a clean, solid silver edge, no copper showing, that's another major sign. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these, because even circulated examples can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. And the best uncirculated ones? They've already made millionaires out of ordinary people. One man sold his silver 1965 quarter to pay off his home. Another used the proceeds to send his grandkids to college. Stories like these remind us that even the smallest, most overlooked pieces of change can hold unimaginable value, but what makes this coin even more special is the timing. 1965 marked the turning point of American coinage, the moment when silver disappeared from everyday money. That means any coin that slipped through is a living fossil, a glimpse back into an era that ended overnight. For collectors, that's not just value, that's magic. Never ignore a 1965 quarter. Every time you find one, check it. Feel it. Listen to it. Because somewhere out there, another silver one might still be hiding in a coffee can, a drawer, or a forgotten jar of change. Just imagine, you dump out your old coins, start sorting them, and there it is. A slightly different shimmer, a sound that catches your ear. You weigh it, 6.25 grams. Your heart skips a beat. That's how these stories begin, and remember, it only takes one lucky find to change your life forever. This coin isn't just metal, it's a $1 million miracle born from a moment of chaos in American history. So next time you see a 1965 quarter, don't spend it. Study it. Treasure it. Because that little piece of silver could make you the next collector who turns pocket change into a fortune. The next $1 million discovery might just be sitting in your drawer right now, waiting for you to notice. If you enjoyed this story and want to uncover more hidden treasures in your change, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. There are coins out there worth life-changing money, and I'll help you find them, because sometimes, the difference between an ordinary coin and $1 million is just knowing what to look for.